My husband didn't like kids, so I always took a pill afterward. But I still got pregnant. I booked an appointment to quietly take care of it. I never expected him to find my pregnancy test results. I started shaking, terrified. I'm so sorry. I already scheduled the procedure. Don't worry, I'll handle it. He stared at me, his eyes red. You really don't want this baby that much? You just get rid of it like it's nothing. I was stunned. Weren't you the one who didn't want kids? They say alphas aren't themselves during their rut. Luckily, Simon was relatively gentle. In the year we'd been married, his ruts had never been too painful for me. After he cleaned me up, he went back into the bathroom. I rolled out of bed and, out of habit, opened the bottom drawer of the cabinet, found the pills and swallowed one down. Simon had been gentle these last few times, but he kept forgetting to use protection. Just in case, I took the pill. After all, Simon didn't like kids. It was better not to cause any trouble. What are you taking? My hand jerked. I instinctively put the pill bottle back and shut the drawer. Meeting Simon's calm gaze, I felt a sudden wave of guilt. Just some vitamin C. Simon nodded, then lifted me back onto the bed and wrapped his arms around me. The scent of mint pheromones enveloped me. He held me tight, unconsciously nuzzling my neck. I knew alphas in their rut were sensitive and had high needs. As a proper partner in an arranged marriage, it was my duty to take care of my alpha. I turned to face him and leaned in to kiss him. Do you want to? I can go again. Simon's eyes instantly darkened, but he squeezed them shut, exercising restraint. He just held me tighter. Let's rest, Cody. I deflated, a strange sense of disappointment welling up inside me. We'd been married for a year, but besides his ruts, he rarely touched me. Even during his ruts, he never made any excessive demands. Sometimes I wondered if I just wasn't attractive enough. If it weren't for his rut, he might not need me at all. But I couldn't say anything. I was just a pawn in an arranged marriage, after all. I fell into a peaceful sleep. The next morning, I felt Simon kissing my face. It was a little habit of his during his rut. I was still sleepy, so I rolled over, turning my back to him and arching my neck to expose my scent gland. You can bite. I honestly didn't think he would. Simon was always so self-controlled, so I let myself drift back to sleep. But the sharp sting of his teeth piercing my gland made my eyes fly open. Mint pheromones flooded my system as a wave of heat spread from the gland through my entire body. My hands clenched into fists, my nails digging into my palms. Simon gently pried my fingers open and laced his with mine. I was still dazed when he finally released my gland. To make matters worse, we were both aroused. Cody, I need you, he whispered, his voice strained. Simon rarely said he was in pain during his rut. For him to say it so directly meant it must be unbearable. I pressed myself against him, the scent of lemon mixing with mint. The mint aggressively overtook the lemon's fragrance. Afterward, Simon gathered my clothes to wash them. I glanced uncomfortably at the bundle in his hands. You really don't have to do that. Simon calmly scrubbed my clothes, his expression unchanged. It's better to hand wash underwear. I blushed and quickly fled the bathroom. I walked over to the bed as usual, pulled out the pills, and was about to swallow one. The pill had just touched my tongue when Simon's hand reached out from behind me. He snatched the remaining pills from my hand. Desogestrel. Cody, what is this? Didn't you say it was vitamin C? I nervously picked at my fingers. The pill was still in my mouth. Just as I was about to swallow, Simon reached in and pulled it out. I rushed to explain. We haven't been careful lately, and I was afraid I couldn't finish the sentence. Simon's eyes were terrifyingly dark. I had never seen him look like that before. Even though I didn't think taking the pill was a big deal, now was not the time to provoke him. I lowered my head, avoiding his gaze, not sure why I felt so guilty. Simon tossed the pills into the nearby trash can and cleared out the rest of the supply from the cabinet. Don't take these so often. They're bad for you. With that, he left the bedroom. I quickly called after him, your rut. Simon didn't turn back, just said over his shoulder, I brought suppressants. He said. On the edge of the bed in a daze, wondering why Simon was suddenly so angry. An accidental pregnancy would be the worst possible outcome, right? I wasn't sure, but I felt like trying to smooth things over was my best bet. I pulled out my phone and texted him. Simon, did you go to the office? I can pick you up after work today. Do you want chicken soup for lunch? I can bring it to you. Simon didn't reply. He almost never ignored my messages. I started to feel anxious. Back when we first got married, I would never have dared to bother him again. But he'd been so tolerant this past year that I'd gotten a little bolder. Simon, please talk to me. I feel sick. His call came through instantly. A smile spread across my face. Where does it hurt? Was I too rough this morning? Before I could say anything, Simon continued. I'll come home and take you to the hospital. I quickly cut him off. No, don't. I'll feel better if you just talk to me. Simon was silent on the other end. After a long pause, he finally said, pouting won't work. I knew he wasn't really angry anymore. So, do you want that chicken soup? I can bring it over. Okay. I grinned, hanging up the phone to go get the ingredients. As for the pills, I could always buy more later. Simon was only angry because he was worried about my health. I just have to remind him to be more careful from now on. After dropping off lunch at Simon's office, I didn't go home. We had dinner plans at his parents' house that evening. The moment we walked in, Simon's mom, Julie, was already peering out to greet us. She lit up when she saw me, rushing over to pull me down onto the sofa. Cody, you're here. I've missed you so much. Even after a year of marriage, I still wasn't used to her overwhelming enthusiasm. Simon and I were just in a business arrangement. But Julie treated me like anything but a stranger. She was always so affectionate, which helped me relax and feel less formal. You're looking well lately. Much better than when you and Simon first got married. I smiled and nodded in agreement. Even though it was an arranged marriage, I was incredibly grateful to them. I didn't know what they saw in my family, but this marriage had saved me from a life of misery. If it wasn't for the Blackwoods, my father probably would have sold me off to someone else. It was Simon who had approached my family, offering a respectable marriage to get me out of there. In the beginning, I was constantly sick, in and out of the hospital. Simon took care of me for a year and nursed me back to health. Julie also brewed special herbal medicines and made sure I drank them. So, no matter what, I had immense respect for them. Julie squeezed my arm, then pinched my cheek. I dutifully lowered my head, and she ruffled my hair. Good health is the most important thing. I was in poor health myself, and I almost had a major complication when Simon was born. At that, Julie looked at me with a wide grin. Speaking of which, when are you two going to give me a healthy baby boy? I froze and instinctively glanced at Simon. His face was blank. I remembered then that he didn't like children. Worried that his mom's question would make him uncomfortable, I spoke up. Mom, we're still young. Let's just leave things like that to fate. Julie patted my hand. You're right. I was just talking. Don't take it to heart. I nodded while sneaking another look at Simon. Maybe it was my imagination, but he seemed even more upset now. I pressed my lips together. The topic of children really did make him unhappy. After dinner and some chatting with his parents, Simon and I went home. But he was unusually clingy tonight. It was different from before, and I was having a hard time keeping up. What's gotten into you today? I asked, breathless. Simon didn't answer, just lowered his head to kiss me again. I tried my best to go along with it. He didn't use protection again today, and I didn't remind him. He was in a bad mood, so I figured I should just let him do whatever made him feel better. But Simon had thrown out all my pills. One time without it should be okay, right? You should never tempt fate. I stared at the pregnancy report in my hand. Panic began to set in. How did this happen? I clutched the paper, my mind racing, unsure of what to do. After a while, I finally decided to terminate the pregnancy. The best time was between 2 and 8 weeks, so I scheduled the procedure for a month from now. The doctor, seeing I was alone, offered a kind suggestion. Where's your alpha? It's best to discuss these things together. I just shook my head. I insisted on booking the appointment. We've already talked about it, and besides, he doesn't like kids. I still felt unsettled after leaving the hospital. My hand kept drifting to my flat stomach. It was hard to believe a life was already growing inside me. A sweet feeling I couldn't explain bloomed in my chest. This was my and Simon's child. If Simon liked kids, he would be the best father. But I'm so sorry. It was my mistake. You came here for nothing. I was lost in thought when Simon's call came through. Cody, is the event over? I'm coming to pick you up. Clutching the report, I instinctively refused. No, it's okay. I'm already on my way home. Simon was quiet for a few seconds. What's wrong? Are you in a bad mood? I don't know how he could tell from my flat tone. But I didn't want him to worry, and I definitely didn't want him to know about the pregnancy. I'm fine, just a little tired. Simon didn't press, just told me to be safe. Before I went inside, I carefully tucked the report and the appointment slip back into my bag. Taking a deep breath to compose myself, I opened the door. Simon was on the sofa and waved me over. I walked to him and he pulled me onto his lap. He gave me a kiss. What's wrong, baby? Simon only called me baby when he was trying to coax something out of me. I couldn't help but smile. Was I that obvious? Nothing, really. I rested my head on his shoulder and let my mind go blank. I didn't want to think about it. It just gave me a headache. He stroked my head, letting me lean on him. After a year together, I could sense that Simon probably had feelings for me. Even though we skipped dating and went straight to marriage, after a year of living together, I had truly fallen in love with him. But I wasn't sure if his feelings for me were out of responsibility or love. I didn't dare ask. Asking too many questions wasn't a good idea. But if he did love me, maybe he could accept our child, too. What are you thinking about? I blinked, quickly changing the subject. Your rut is coming up soon. Simon's rut was approaching. But I was anxious. With a baby growing inside me, I didn't dare do anything reckless. I just didn't know how to explain it to him. Without me to soothe him, Simon would be in a lot of pain. I subconsciously touched my stomach. Simon leaned over and hugged me. You've been touching your stomach a lot lately. Is it upset? I quickly dropped my hand. But he placed his own hand there instead, slipping it under my shirt. His warm palm rested on my belly, rubbing it gently. I pressed his hand down. The sensation was too strange. Simon smiled. You're finally putting on some weight there. Took me long enough to fatten you up. I looked down at his hand under my shirt, feeling a mix of emotions. I guess this was his way of saying hello to the baby. The thought made me smile, but when I looked up at Simon's eyes, my smile vanished. I knew that look all too well, and Simon wasn't trying to hide it. He laid me down on the sofa and kissed me deeply. It wasn't until the scent of mint pheromones filled the air that I realized something was wrong. Simon's rut had come early. A sudden chill ran down my thigh, and fear gripped me. I tried to push him away. We can't. Simon frowned, then scooped me up and carried me toward the bedroom. Not here. Then let's go to our room. I was still pushing against him when he laid me on the bed. No matter how much self-control Simon had, he wouldn't let me reject him at a time like this. He bit my gland, flooding me with his pheromones. My body went limp, my protests growing weaker. But my mind was screaming that this was wrong. Simon, no. Please, I'm not feeling well. The doctor said I can't. Simon stopped moving. He stroked my face. He rolled over, grabbed a suppressant from the nightstand, and jabbed it into his arm. Don't cry. Just go outside for a minute. Seeing him in so much pain, I was overwhelmed with guilt. Simon stroked my head, then gently pushed me out of the room. Even through the closed door, I could imagine how much he was suffering. I had seen him lose control during his rut once before. When we first got married, Simon would lock himself in the room every time. No matter how much I assured him I could handle it, he wouldn't listen. It was only after my health improved that he finally trusted me to help him through it. After a while, I noticed the lock had been disengaged. I quickly pushed the door open. I didn't see Simon at first, just a pile of clothes on the bed. All of them were mine. Simon was curled up in the middle of my clothes, completely still. I rushed over and started pulling the clothes away, but he grabbed me and pulled me into the pile with him. He wrapped his arms around me, his teeth gently scraping against my gland. I'm sorry. Simon's voice was hoarse. What are you sorry for? I didn't know what to say. He shifted and pulled out 2 pieces of paper. Is it because of this? You're pregnant. That's when I saw my bag on the bed. Open. He must have found my pregnancy report while he was nesting. The color drained from my face. I reached for the papers. My heart sank. Simon knew I was pregnant. Would he divorce me? I shivered and rushed to explain. I'm so sorry, it's my fault. But don't worry, I've already scheduled the procedure. I'll take care of it. The moment the words left my mouth, Simon's eyes turned red. If I listened closely, I could hear a tremor in his voice. You really don't want this baby that much? Our child? And you just get rid of it. I was completely lost. Wasn't he the one who didn't want kids? I finally realized there must be some kind of misunderstanding between us. What? But it was clear Simon didn't want to talk to me right now. He grabbed some clothes and bolted out of the apartment. He left so quickly I couldn't catch up. He wouldn't answer my calls or reply to my texts. On top of that, he was still in his rut. I was worried sick. By nightfall, Simon still hadn't come home. As a last resort, I called his parents. Simon? No, he's not here. What's wrong, Cody? Did you two have a fight? I couldn't find him anywhere. Couldn't get in touch with him. I was genuinely panicking, and my voice started to crack. The second Julie heard me crying, her voice sharpened. I heard a loud banging sound on the other end of the line. Simon, you little punk. Didn't you say it was nothing serious? What did you do to make Cody cry? You begged us to let you marry him. And now, not even a year later, you've made him this upset. You get your butt out here right now. A moment later, someone else took the phone. Simon's deep voice came through the line. What is it? I steadied my breath. I knew we had to talk this out face to face. Let me come pick you up. No. His refusal was blunt. It stung, but I was still worried about his rut. You're still in. Simon cut me off. I have suppressants. I had nothing left to say. I didn't dare say anything else. We both fell silent. I couldn't bring myself to hang up. Just hearing his voice was a little reassuring. It was Simon who spoke first. Is there something you want to say to me? My mind immediately went to the pregnancy report. The cause of this whole mess. In the few seconds of silence, he hung up. Listening to the dial tone, I slumped onto the sofa, completely lost. What did Simon mean? I knew for a fact that he didn't like kids. Or was he angry that I hid the pregnancy from him? I absent-mindedly stroked my stomach. Everything was supposed to be getting better. How did I manage to screw it all up again? I grabbed my car keys, deciding to go find him. But as if he knew what I was thinking, a single text came through. Don't come get me. I'm not leaving. Simon was acting like a pouting child, running to his parents when he felt wronged. The only problem was, his parents weren't on his side at all. The moment his rut was over, Julie couldn't take it anymore. She kicked Simon out of the house and told him not to come back until he'd fixed things. When Simon came home, he acted like nothing had changed, as gentle and considerate as ever. But he would often stare blankly at my stomach. And every time I tried to bring up the baby, he would awkwardly change the subject. The strange tension between us was so obvious that even his parents noticed. At another family dinner, Simon's dad called him into the study to talk. Julie sat me down on the sofa for a chat. She held my hand gently, her tone soft. Cody, has Simon been treating you poorly? You haven't looked well lately. I shook my head. No, he's been very good to me. Julie glanced sideways, patting my hand softly. She told me to relax, not to be nervous. I don't want to meddle in your business, but you're both my children, and I want you to be happy. I've seen over the past year that you two have real feelings for each other. But if you're unhappy, please don't be afraid to say so. I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. How did this escalate to marital problems? I quickly explained. It's not that. We're fine. And I really love Simon. Julie's eyes lit up. A look of relief washed over her face. That's good. Simon loves you very much, too. He was the one who insisted on marrying you. That was news to me. An arranged marriage with my family wasn't strange. But insisting on marrying me specifically was. My family didn't have much to offer at the time. I had never imagined our marriage was something Simon had requested. He requested it. Julie looked surprised. She hadn't expected such a strong reaction from me. That boy never told you? He liked you even before you were married. I can't believe it's been a year and he hasn't told you a thing. Hearing this, I felt like I was sitting on pins and needles. I had always thought we were just a business arrangement, that our feelings grew over time. I never knew he already knew me, that he liked me. Did that mean he saw me back then when I was at my worst? When my dad forced me to meet with his business partners, making me drink until I threw up. Those slimy stares I could never forget. I wasn't even worthy of being a marriage partner, just a plaything. My father didn't care about me. He just wanted to use me for his own gain. That's why I think if there's a misunderstanding between you two, you need to solve it quickly. Love can't withstand that kind of strain. I licked my lips. Mom, it's not a problem with our relationship. Then what is it? Julie looked puzzled now. Did he go bankrupt? That can't be right. Julie's imagination was running wild. Now that I knew Simon had liked me for a long time, an idea I couldn't suppress began to form in my mind. If he loves me, could he maybe love our child a little bit, too? Mom, I'll handle it. Please don't worry. On the way home, I snuck several glances at Simon. I opened my mouth to ask him a few times but lost my nerve. It was Simon who finally noticed. While stopped at a red light, he reached over and gently squeezed my ear. What's wrong? You feeling okay? My eyes fell on the ring on his hand. He had barely taken it off since the day he put it on. I suddenly felt a sense of calm. Simon, I don't think I've ever told you this, but I love you. Simon's head snapped around to look at me. I pointed at the traffic light. It's about to turn green. He had no choice but to turn back and drive. But I couldn't ignore his tightly pressed lips or the veins bulging on the back of his hand. After he parked the car, Simon didn't even wait to get inside. He unbuckled my seatbelt and pulled me onto his lap. What did you just say? Say it again. I cupped his face and nuzzled his nose. Then I pressed a soft kiss to his lips. I said, I love you. The words had barely left my mouth before he was kissing me again. He bit at my lips, invading my mouth little by little. Even in the heat of the moment, Simon was careful to support my waist, making sure not to press against my stomach. During a gasp for air, I whispered in his ear, You like me, don't you? You've liked me for a long time. Simon's voice was muffled. Yeah. That gave me a little more courage. I hesitated for a moment before continuing. Then the baby. Simon's eyes suddenly welled up with tears. He turned his face away, his hand on my waist tightening. You can do whatever you want. I just wish you would talk to me about things. Don't hide them from me. It's our baby, after all. I finished my sentence. Then can you try to like the baby, too? At that, Simon's eyes grew even redder. Who said I don't like our baby? Even if you didn't want it, you could have told me. How could you just decide to get rid of it without saying a word? And even if you did, how could I let you go through that alone, without anyone by your side? I was dumbfounded, speechless for a long moment. Seeing my silence, Simon grew more agitated. I'll go with you to the appointment. Wait, who didn't want the baby? Me? I poked Simon's chest, my voice thick with emotion. But I thought you didn't like kids. I watched as his expression shifted from confusion to shock, and finally, to frustration. He squeezed my cheeks a little. I don't like kids? I've been dying for us to have a baby. Where did you ever hear that I don't like kids? I shrank back, my confidence gone. Simon had never actually said he didn't like or want children. It was just that a few months after we got married, I overheard him talking to a friend. They were talking about kids. He'd frowned and said, we can't have kids. From that moment on, I assumed Simon didn't like kids and didn't want to have any with me. Besides, it was just an arranged marriage. Could end at any time. Simon looked like he was about to fall apart. His face was a mask of despair. Cody, we almost lost our baby. It turned out that when Simon had said we can't have kids, He was talking with a friend who'd asked when he planned on starting a family. At the time, I was always sick and my health was very poor. Simon didn't want me to get hurt in any way, and he thought that was something to consider much later. Simon looked at me with his red-rimmed eyes, full of resentment. You were so frail back then. I didn't even dare touch you during my rut. How could I be thinking about having kids? I bit my lip and said nothing. Simon's thumb gently stroked my cheek. I don't blame you. It's my fault for not giving you enough security, for making you overthink so much. He lowered his head and rested it gently against my stomach. A moment later, he looked back up at me. The baby kicked me. I sighed, pushing his head away. The baby is tiny. What are you talking about? We'd been in the car for a while, and I urged him to hurry up and go inside. He was incredibly excited that night, the gloom of the past few weeks completely gone. I patted his restless form. Go to sleep. It's already late. Simon turned to face me, his hand under the covers tightly holding mine. I let him be and didn't bother him anymore. Ever since getting pregnant, I'd been sleeping a lot. I usually woke up late. Today, I happened to wake up a little earlier, but Simon was already gone. I got out of bed to get ready, but as I approached the bathroom, I heard heavy breathing from inside. I instantly knew what Simon was doing. Come to think of it, Simon hadn't touched me at all since I got pregnant. But everyone has needs. I turned the handle and pushed the door open, my eyes meeting Simon's, which were filled with lust. Cody? Simon looked away, embarrassed, and started to clean himself up. I walked over and put my hand over his. Let me help. Simon stopped me. Don't. I'm fine. I knelt down. I ignored his protests. I can help you like this. Simon looked down at me, no longer refusing. Simon looked a little chagrined. You don't have to do that in the future. I smiled and shook my head. It's okay. I want to. I watched as the tips of his ears turned redder and redder. Simon was rarely embarrassed. In front of me, he usually had an air of effortless confidence. I found it fascinating. Ever since we'd been honest about our feelings, I discovered so many different sides to him. It was interesting and very cute. I kissed the corner of his mouth. You can tell me if you need something. You don't have to hold back. Simon couldn't take it anymore. He rubbed his face vigorously. Stop it, Cody. I dropped one last bombshell. Don't be shy, honey. Then I cheerfully walked out of the bathroom, leaving a nearly self-combusting Simon behind. Simon's parents found out about the pregnancy soon enough. Julie, being as perceptive as she was, quickly guessed that our previous fight had been about the baby. The moment we got to their house, she grabbed Simon by the ear. Was it you who didn't want a baby? Simon tried to pry her hand off, yelping in pain. It hurt me to watch. I quickly stepped in to smooth things over. Mom, you've misunderstood. Simon is very excited about the baby. Julie froze for a second, then let go of Simon's ear. She gently patted my hand. Well, I think you two are still young. There's no rush to have kids. I looked at Simon, my face burning with embarrassment, silently pleading for help. Simon stepped forward and pulled his mom aside. All right, Mom, stop worrying. We're fine and the baby is fine. That finally made Julie truly happy. She immediately started ordering all sorts of materials, vowing to knit clothes for the baby herself. I didn't try to curb her enthusiasm. The thought of our baby growing up in such a loving family made me feel incredibly fortunate. Simon sidled up next to me, pointing to his ear and complaining. Look, my ear is all red, and you don't even feel sorry for me. Julie shot him a dirty look. Stop being so dramatic. Simon ignored his mom's disapproval and took my hand, placing it on his ear. With Julie still watching, I started to blush. Finally, Julie couldn't stand it anymore and moved to another room, ignoring us. But Simon was relentless. After we got home, he insisted I had to compensate him for the ear-pulling incident. I pushed against him through gritted teeth, on the verge of tears. Didn't you say it was okay if I didn't do anything? Simon pressed his forehead against mine, turning a deaf ear to my pleas. I closed my eyes and gave in. Let me put some ointment on that for you. Punched him. This is all your fault. My legs are all scraped up. Simon started playing cute again. He looked at me with a pitiful expression. Well, you're pregnant. This is the only way. I kicked my leg out, but he caught my foot in his hand. He expertly lowered his head and apologized. I was wrong, baby Cody. I had no fight left in me. Maybe I just could never stay mad at Simon. I scrolled through the appointment reminders on my phone. Can you come with me to the hospital tomorrow? Simon's head snapped up, his expression wary. What for? A checkup, of course, I said, as if it were the most obvious thing in the world. Aren't you coming with me? Simon let out a sigh of relief. He put the cap back on the ointment, climbed into bed, and wrapped his arms around me. I knew what he was worried about, and I patted the back of his hand reassuringly. What are you thinking about? Go to sleep. At the checkup, I ran into the same doctor from before. He glanced at Simon beside me and smiled slightly. Your alpha isn't busy this time? I smiled back sheepishly as Simon wrapped an arm around my waist. The doctor didn't say much more, just wrote out an order for my tests. Simon went to the restroom at one point, and I sat on a bench outside waiting for him. Suddenly, someone rushed up and grabbed my wrist. Cody, it's you, isn't it? The man's hair was a mess, and he looked terrible. My face instantly changed, a wave of physical revulsion washing over me. Ben, my biological father. He gripped my hand tightly, not letting me pull away. It's me, Cody. It's Dad. I frowned, trying to shake him off. But his grip was too tight, and I didn't dare move too much, afraid I might hurt the baby. But Ben's pheromones, which smelled like rust, were suffocating me, making me sick to my stomach. I remembered the times he used to hit me, pinning me to the floor with his pheromones until I couldn't get up. Ben seemed mentally unstable, his eyes unfocused. Cody, Dad's out of money. You married Simon, right? He must have a lot of money. Give your dad some money. I fought back the nausea and pried his fingers off my hand. Ben wouldn't let me go. He was laughing and crying at the same time. Dad is sick. You're my son. You should pay for my treatment. I need money. I need money. Give me money. The hospital staff noticed something was wrong and came over, stepping between us. Ben ignored them and kept trying to grab me. Just then, Simon returned and took my hand, pulling me into his arms. Ben saw the prenatal report in Simon's other hand and burst into manic laughter. You're pregnant too? Good, that's good. That way you'll never be apart, and you can give me money for the rest of my life. Couldn't help but gag. Simon's face turned to ice. He gently rubbed my back to soothe me, then turned to look at Ben. Mr. Chun, I believe I made myself very clear. The day Cody became a part of my family, he had nothing more to do with you. The money I gave you then was more than enough to save your company. What you did with it is none of our concern, but you have no right to harass Cody. With that, Simon had someone call security, ignoring Ben completely. As Ben was being dragged away, I suddenly smiled at him. Being pregnant didn't make Mom stay with you either. I watched his face contort with rage. A wave of satisfaction washed over me. Simon held me tightly, his heart aching for me. The familiar scent of mint pheromones calmed me down. It's okay. I'm here. I thought I was over the past. But that night, I was trapped in a nightmare, like I was drowning and couldn't wake up. I dreamed of my mother's cold stare, of my father's descending hand, of eyes that looked at me like I was a piece of property. Couldn't breathe. Baby? Simon's voice broke through. My eyes flew open. Seeing his face, my racing heart finally began to slow. Simon didn't rush to speak, just gently patted my back over and over. I pouted. I don't blame my mom. The words came out of nowhere, but Simon didn't question them. He just murmured in agreement, accepting everything I said without judgment. He just quietly released his familiar pheromones to steady my emotions. She was forced too. He forced her. That's why she didn't like me. I don't blame her, and I'm not sad. I have a good life now. I have you, and parents who love me, and our baby. I'm so happy. I rambled on, jumping from one thought to another. By the end, my mind was empty. All the emotions drained away. All I knew was that Simon's arms felt so comforting. Sleep began to wash over me again. This time, there were no bad memories in my dreams, only Simon's gentle smile. The further along I got in my pregnancy, the more nervous my parents-in-law became. Julie hired a team of specialists who practically wanted to follow me around 24/7. Even Simon's dad, who was usually buried in work, came to see me several times. In the end, it was Simon who convinced them not to worry and sent the army of people away. Simon acted the most composed of everyone. But sometimes, when I woke up in the middle of the night, I'd see his bloodshot eyes. I touched the corner of his eye with my fingertip. "Why are you still awake?" Simon took my hand and brought it to his lips, nuzzling it affectionately. "I wasn't. I'm about to sleep." I knew he was worried about me. Every time I shifted in my sleep, he would prop himself up to check on me. My lips curved into a smile. "You know, I feel so lucky to have met you." Simon sighed softly. "That makes me a little sad. I wish I could have brought you that luck sooner. It's not too late now."